Hey guys, GuitarMan122508 here, back again with another Superman-related review. This time out we're going to be looking at the DC Comics, DC Collectibles Designer Series Bermejo Superman figure. So let's take a quick look at the packaging and then let's look at the figure. So on the front you can see through the window, we can see this great looking Superman, reflective, shiny looking S right here. DC Comics Designer Series Bermejo. We got two sets of hands right here, fists and some open hands, or somewhat open, nothing on this side. On the back we have a sketch version of what the character figure was supposed to look like, and the actual figure itself. I think they did a really good job on translating this. You can see that there's a little bit of difference on the cape right here, but not too bad. On this side we can see a sketch, or a decolorized version of what Bermejo's Superman looks like. I don't remember exactly when and where he drew Superman, but I know that he did do a cover for an issue of Superman around the time of Superman Grounded. At the top we can see Bermejo's signature right here, and at the bottom we have the legal mumbo jumbo. So let's look at this figure. And here he is out of the packaging. I am thoroughly impressed with this figure. I think it's pretty nicely designed piece. I do have a couple of problems with it though, mostly regarding standing and some quality control issues. But first let's take a look at that face sculpt. And here's the head sculpt. I think they did a pretty good job at capturing a Bermejo style Superman. I like the sculpting on the hair. That is very nicely done. They clearly put a lot of detail and time and effort into this little figure. Lots of nice detail. I'm not exactly sure what they were trying to do with the ears. It's like that on both sides and a little bit worse on this side. And as I said before, I do have some quality control issues on my figure. There are a couple black paint spots from, I'm assuming, the hair. And there is one right here. It's nothing too major. There's also one on his nose. Yeah, it's not too bad. I can live with it. You can see right here that the cape does not entirely attach to the suit, and there is a piece of the blue paint that is missing. That's kind of sad. Just a couple of small errors when it comes to quality control stuff. The rest of it looks pretty solid. The S shield is nice and clean from what I can see. Maybe a smidge of overlapping on the red and the yellow right here, but overall not too bad. On the cape we can see that they just printed an S shield right here, and well, that's kind of par for the course. It looks like, yeah, some blue overspill onto the trunks, and I think that's all I noticed when I was examining this figure. I can't give you guys a 360 on this one either, because like the the Greg Capullo Superman, he does not want to stand when I rotate him. So I thought I was beyond that, but apparently not. Maybe I'll just get a new table or something, I don't know. As you can see here though, I have him in a classic hands-on hip Superman style pose, and I think it looks great. The cape, it looks awesome. They could have just done a regular style cape, but I know Bermejo does a lot of stuff with cloths and, you know, textures on the cloths, and I think the cape is actually probably one of the best selling points on this figure. It's just so dynamic and wavy. Look at that. Look at that detail and all the creasing and the folds. You can actually feel like this is, you know, a real cape, like this was taken mid-pose or the wind was just blowing it, and it looks great. I like it. The detailing for the fists is pretty decent. They kind of do the same thing that they did with the Jay Lee figures, where they do these kind of shadowy bits with this weird brown kind of color, and it looks good from a distance, but up close it just kind of looks weird, like you got some dirt in there. It's not as bad on this hand, or at least not on camera, it's not. Look at all these nice little details on the suit, all the creasing and the folds and where the muscles would be, and it's got some nice definition. It's just so much attention to detail on this figure. They really didn't have to go this in depth. One thing that I would have liked to have seen, though, is some peg holes. That would be nice, but we haven't seen any peg holes on any of the designer figures that I've reviewed, so I'm just going to assume that they are not supposed to be part of the designer series. As mentioned, this figure does come with an extra set of hands, and you can definitely see what I'm talking about on the shadowing, especially on this hand. It just kind of looks weird. I don't know, and there's a little bit of a quality control issue. You can see some of that spilling over right here, unless that was intentional, in which case it just kind of looks off. But if that were the case, it would also be on this hand, and it's not. In fact, this is the superior looking hand. This hand right here just looks kind of bad. As with the DC Icons figures, it's pretty much just a simple pop and release method to get these hands out. You want to be careful, though. You don't want to break the pegs off or bend the fingers or damage the piece. And voila, he has an open hand. What he's going to do with that, I have no clue. But the option is there if you want it. So let's go into articulation. The Superman figure can rotate his head 360 degrees. He can look up, well, barely. And he barely looks down, which is kind of weird considering that this is Superman we're talking about. He has a 360 degree rotation of the arms. They will go out. You have a rotation at the bicep. You have this really cool hinge at the elbow. You have a rotation at the hand, and you can actually do some stuff with the hand. He's got some hinges on there. From what I can tell, he does not have any kind of hip rotation, but he does kick forward that much, which is nice to see. He will also kick back that much, and he can do the splits ridiculously well. He has a cut at the thigh, kind of tight there. Knees, and then this really weird rotation kind of thing for the foot. It just seems to be attached at one point right here, and it's fine, but it just feels awkward, and I'm kind of scared that it might break off at some point, so it's definitely not something to be played with. Again, that's to be expected. The $28 price tag on this guy. It's a nice figure. I think it's good. I dig it a lot, actually. I think there's a lot to love about this figure, and I definitely like this more than the Greg Capullo Superman figure that we got in December. I just know that a lot of my complaints come from the fact that he does not stand unless you really tinker with him. And my figure had some quality control issues. It may differ depending on your figure, and hopefully it does. I know DC Collectibles does do a pretty great job at maintaining that their figures are top-notch quality. I mean, people are paying some pretty good money for these figures. I think this is a good figure. Overall, I recommend it. I'm excited to have it in my collection, and I can't wait to see it among my other Superman figures. So if you like what you see here, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. If you want to listen to me talk about Superman for an hour and a half, then check out my podcast. It's called Up, and Away. We're available on iTunes and Podomatic, as well as through Facebook. And then check out my other podcast. It's about movies and comics and video games and all that stuff. It's called Collectors Coalition. We're available on Podomatic, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Facebook.